This NFL Week 5 pregame show of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress. Use promo code SGPN on your first purchase to save $20. Download the Game Time app and use promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100 times your money. That's right, turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus of up to $500. And finally, we're brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the NFL Week 5 pregame show, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Sunday, October the 8th, in the midst of the first game, or I should say the second game in London currently happening between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills. And if you didn't tune in to the first pregame show with the Premier League guys, with our guy Mal and Boz, well, you probably missed out on some winners that they probably fired up there. But we're going to do it here as we usually do. We'll go through the latest injury news for all teams, and then also we are going to give out our player props for each game that we do like, and then at the end we'll put down a touchdown parlay and a underdog entry as well. So hopefully we can maximize your pockets on this NFL Week 5. And joining me here to help me break it all down, you guys know him as the voice of the NBA Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, and of course here on the NFL Gambling Podcast, it's Lante Smith. Lante, how's it going, my man?
Not bad, man. Looking forward to the card today, especially with some player props. Got some intriguing matchups that we can look to take advantage of. So, yeah, hopefully we can get on the right side of those.
Yes, sir. Few teams that are at least bye week started this week, and then again we have the London game. So, not as many games that we're going to have to go through today, but we'll do it here as we usually do. So, I guess we'll just go game by game. If there's any injury news in those games, we'll update you and give out our player props for those games. But let's start here with the first game that is starting at 1:00 Eastern. It is going to be the Tennessee Titans, and they are in Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Obviously, Lance, the big news here, Jonathan Taylor returns for the Indianapolis Colts. He signs a contract extension and also obviously gets activated off of, I don't know what type of list they had for him.
PUP, I think he was on the PUP list.
Okay, so he's on the PUP list. So he's back for this offense. He gets paid, and he's back in the backfield with Anthony Richardson here. They'll take on the Titans here. I'll pull up the injury report here if there are any injuries here, but anything that you like as far as player props in this game?
Yeah, I was going to go with probably a decent amount of unders because I think both of these teams will struggle offensively against the opposing defense. I'm interested to see how the Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor combo does or how he does. I'm not sure if he was actually injured or if they just kind of put him there until they negotiated that contract. So that's kind of up for debate a little bit. But I'm gonna go with Josh Downs. I'm gonna go with his receptions over. He's been killing the receptions, similar to what he did at North Carolina. Let me see if I can get a updated number on Josh Downs receptions. He's at 3.5. I see. Yeah, you can get some plus money on 3.5. DraftKings has 3.5 plus 110.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so I like that one. I think in the slot he'll be able to operate. We all know Richardson is not the most accurate thrower. I think down to down basis he's better underneath, and I think Josh Downs is definitely a big threat underneath. Jonathan Taylor coming back adds another dynamic. Him, Zach Moss in that backfield, so you kind of can't crowd the box as much with Michael Pittman and Josh Downs in that receiving core. So I do like Josh Downs over 3.5 receptions.
I'm looking at Derrick Henry in this game against the Colts here. And if you kind of go back to the last, let's see here, go all the way back to the 2019 season. I currently see Derrick Henry's rushing prop listed, I think it was at 77.5 in this game. So going back to the 2019 season, he's gone over this number in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 out of the last 8 games. And 6 out of the last 7 games, he's been at 100 rushing yards or more in each of those games. And then in 6 straight, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games, he's had at least 19 carries or more for the Titans rushing attack against his Titans team. So I'm currently seeing his uh, um, rushing prop right now at 77.5, currently over at DraftKings, and then also his rushing attempts. I believe I saw it at 17.5. There's a little bit of juice on it at minus 130. But I think that this, again, I think this is going to be one of the uglier games, being a division game. And I think the success that Derrick Henry has had against the Indianapolis Colts, I think that's continues here. So those are the 2 props that I was looking at in this game here for Derrick Henry. Let's get over to the next game here on the schedule here, Lonte. Let's go to the other AFC South game, or the other AFC South team, I should say. The Houston Texans, they are in Atlanta to take on the Falcons. No significant injury news in this game, at least up to date here on Sunday. But any player props you're looking at in this game?
Yeah, man, it's probably like the squarest play of all time. But I got to go with Bijan over rushing receiving yards. I see 111.5 out here. I mean, until Ritter proves, honestly, what I do think, I think Ritter's going to be on a short leash today. So I would look at taking some of his unders. I think that if he doesn't come out and perform at least a little bit better than what we've seen in the first few weeks, I think they're going to put Heineke in, because it's no need to be wasted. I mean, they got a soft schedule. It's no need for them to even experiment with what's going on. They can see it. I know it's short sample size, but we saw it even in college. I mean, he's good at home. He's not so good on the road. Accuracy isn't there. I mean, he's just flat out missing guys, like just missing guys. He can't get the ball to his playmakers except for Bijan. So I just think that he'll be on a short leash. Bijan here should be able to run wild, both passing and receiving. So I think over 111.5 rushing and receiving yards is a good play. And anything Desmond Ritter under, I know it's a low. I think it's like 179.5 the last time I looked on his passing yards. But once again, I'm just going into the mindset thinking that he's not going to be in the game fully, especially if it's a close game. I mean, the Texans have been playing really good offense and defense. I mean, you got D'Amico Ryans, who is one of the better defensive minds in the NFL. I just think that he'll be on that short leash, and at least you got to have the threat of being able to stretch the field with Heineke. I think he adds that dimension to that offense to allow them to do Arthur Smith to do what he wants to do, which is run the football in an effective way. So give me Desmond Ritter under 179 yards, passing yards. I'll take Bijan over 111 rushing receiving yards.
The 2 quarterbacks that have gone over 179.5 was Anthony Richardson in week 2 against the Texans. And then Trevor Lawrence, who was pretty much playing from behind in that game where the Texans got out to an early lead last week. Kenny Pickett, 132 yards. Lamar Jackson, not really a passing quarterback, but 169 yards. I think the script is there, Lonte, because next week the Commanders go to Atlanta, and if you believe in those script things, or revenge angles, Tyler Heineke going up against his former team against the Commanders. So I think there's definitely a possibility. Also throw out this betting angle as well. I believe Desmond Ritter is 0-8 in the first half against the spread.
Oh, I didn't know.
So I think that's something that I'll be looking at Texans first half, whether it's on the spread or whether it's on the money line, for them to get the job done at least in the first half. And again, it's kind of correlated that if we do think that Ritter's struggling in that first half, he throws a pick, they're down at the half. I think that quarterback change may be coming. So I 100% agree with you about the under on Desmond Ritter's whatever it's passing yards,
Yeah.
pass completions, whatever the case might be. All right, let's get over to the next game on the board. Let's go over to another clunker of a game. We got the New Orleans Saints. They are in Foxborough to take on the Patriots. Derek Carr, I believe what I read is he is expected to play in this game, as well as Ramondre Stevenson. He was in with a thigh injury. He's also expected to play, but I think this is going to be one of the uglier games this week 5. But I didn't have any player props in this game. You have anything that you do like?
Yeah, I got 3. So you mentioned him at the
Okay.
top. I like Stevenson under 53.5 rushing yards. I mean, he's averaging 2.7 yards per carry. He only went over this number once, and that took 19 carries. I think that was against the Jets. A little bit banged up here. I think Zeke will probably be he will probably be the carries leader here, being that he's the more healthier back. And I mean, New Orleans defense, I mean, it's not allowing a ton of rush success. So I think that with him being banged up, I might look for his receptions, because I think he's 3rd on the team in receptions. So I like him under 53.5 rushing yards. Another player prop on that same side of the ball, I like Hunter Henry over 35.5 receiving yards. He leads the team in receptions and yards. He's over in 3 of his 4 games, 50 plus in each of those. I mean, he's getting a bunch of targets over the middle. They use a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets. So I think Hunter Henry can be the beneficiary of, some, I guess, some in routes, a little curl here, a little curl there. Mac Jones obviously doesn't have the ability he doesn't have the wide receivers that are going to stretch the field. So anything over the middle, I think Hunter Henry pretty much eats it up. And on the other side of the ball, with the Saints, I'm going to go, over 4.5 receptions for Michael Thomas. New England secondary banged up. Gonzalez, Jack Jones. I forgot. It's a couple of other guys who are out. I know they just brought back J.C. Jackson from Los Angeles, but I'm not sure
Chargers.
how.
Yeah.
Chargers. Yeah. So I'm not sure how. I mean, he knows the system, so it's not like he has to be like caught up or anything. I mean, it's pretty much the same system. So not sure how effective he'll be. Carr banged up, probably be looking for quick passes. I mean, he does that anyway. Michael Thomas is over in 3 of the last 4 games, 6+ targets in every single game he's played in. We know he's pretty much a 5 to 15 yard route runner, so I think he'll be able to have 5+ receptions here.
All right. Next game on the board, that's going to be the battle of the AFC North rivalry here. We got the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett is going to be playing this game. Unfortunately, if you are a Steelers fan. But I think there's a lot of injury news here that we probably need to get to for the Baltimore Ravens. And also guys that are out, but also guys that are coming back for this game. So right now, officially, Odell Beckham Jr. is questionable, but is expected to suit up against the Steelers. I believe they're also getting Marlon Humphreys back for this game against the Steelers as well for the Baltimore Ravens. But what do we look at in this game here, Lante?
Yes, a lot of unknown for me in this game. I only got 1 player prop, and that's Lamar Jackson over 201.5 passing yards. That's at FanDuel and Caesars. It's also like pretty much spread all over the place, like most player props is. So just 201.5 is available at those 2 books and a few others. Pittsburgh's allowed back-to-back 300-yard passers. Purdy and Deshaun probably could have got over that number, but they were just running the ball so effective that they didn't need to pass at all. He's over this number in his last 2 meetings versus what I would consider better Pittsburgh defenses than what he's going to go against today. And he's also had worse offenses than what he had. So add those 2 together, I think that he's in for a big day. He's getting some offensive line help back, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, Pittsburgh, I really don't know what to do with Pittsburgh, to be honest. It's just like I don't know. I don't know what to do with them. That's why I don't want to take anything on their side of the ball. I mean, especially with Canada still there, they got to move on from him. I mean, the writing's on the wall. I don't know what Kenny Pickett is right now. I mean, he shows a little bit of flashes, and I'm not sure if it's the offense or if it's him. So I'll give a 50-50 split there with as far as credit. But I do think Matt Canada's offense is a little bit stale. So I don't trust anybody on that side of the ball. But I do think Lamar has a big day through the air.
Yeah, I think I was looking at Lamar's rushing yards as well. I know he didn't get to play against the Steelers last season because he was dealing with an injury as well. But he hasn't played this Steelers team since the December of 2021. 55 rushing yards in that game. Prior to that, 65-70. So 3 straight games he's gone over this number against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, currently listed at 45.5. A little bit of juice on that, minus 130. But again, we've talked about the struggles that the Pittsburgh Steelers rush defense has had. I mean, they've given it up on the ground. I mean, we saw even last week, like when I mentioned, Dameon Pierce, who has been absolutely struggling this season. He was able to have a fantastic day against this Steelers rush defense as well. So I think Lamar Jackson is definitely in tune for having a big day here. 3 out of the 4 weeks thus far this season, the Steelers have allowed at least 100 rushing yards. The first 2 weeks, 162, 171 against the Browns. And last week, like I mentioned, the Texans had 110 rushing yards led by Dameon Pierce in that game. So I'm looking at Lamar's rushing yards. Also a note, 8 straight games against the Baltimore Ravens. TJ Watt has recorded at least half a sack. But that number right now is at 0.75, minus 125 over on DraftKings. So if you think that, TJ Watt does make it a streak of at least half, or I think that he should be able to get a full sack here, that's at minus 125. If you want to put that like in the same game parlay or just play that one straight up. Next game, let's get over to the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers. A lot of injury news in this game, especially for the Detroit Lions. So Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be out for this game. Also, Jahmyr Gibbs is also out for this game for the Detroit Lions. And also, I think there was one more receiver that was going to be out in this game for the Detroit Lions here as well. God, who was it? I sort of got it. Josh Reynolds, I think. No, he was a full participant. Just as those 2 guys, at least on the offensive side. Jameson Williams is going to back for this game, but I see a note that he's only expected to play around 20 snaps in this game in his season debut, coming off of the suspension for the gambling thing that he did have. So expect him to be only out there for 20 snaps or so. For the Carolina Panthers side, nothing really of significance as far as injuries go. Dante Jackson, cornerback, questionable for the Week 5 game. Xavier Woods, safety, has been ruled out. And then Austin Corbett on the offensive line has been ruled out as well. So some injuries on the secondary and the offensive line for the Carolina Panthers here. But Lante, it almost seems like the game script for the Lions may just be that running the football with David Montgomery here. But where any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, I'm staying away from the Detroit. Although I do want to take Jameson Williams, I just think that he's going to be able to at least stretch the offense. But he's on that snap count, so it's kind of hard to trust him. I'm gonna go to the other side of the ball. I'm gonna go with Bryce Young over 9.5 rush yards. If you shop around, you can find 8.5. Just 9.5 is consensus though. He's over in all 3 games that he's played in. Offensive line has struggled. They're likely to have problems with that Detroit front 4. So I think he'll be able to use his legs when the pocket collapses. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of weapons. The only receiver that's really getting open is Adam Thielen. So I'll maybe look at him receptions and yards over. But I think it's correlated. I think Bryce rushing yards is pretty much correlated in the success that the Panthers will have because, I mean, like I said, they don't have a lot of success. Miles Sanders is not getting a ton of separation. And again, that goes back to the offensive line. And we've seen what Detroit's defensive line has been consistent throughout from the first game, from the first Thursday of the season. And I think Kansas City has one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And they were missing Kelce, but again, I mean, not sure Kelce is much of a blocker at its point in his career. But yeah, I like Bryce Young over 9.5 rushing yards. Probably would play Adam Thielen over. I'll probably get like 60 plus yards. I think he's lined at. Let me see, what is he lined at?
What are you looking for?
Adam Thielen's receiving yards. I'm trying to see what he's lined at.
I got that at 51.5 for Adam Thielen. Let me see the updated number here.
I'll just ladder it up to 60 plus, 60, 65 plus, because I think he goes over that number. I mean, he's literally the only person that's getting open for Bryce. And Bryce is not throwing the ball down the field. I mean, I can't blame him. He doesn't have a lot of targets to throw the ball down the field to. I'm going to need DJ Chark to emerge. I see Nick talking about Sam Laporta. I would love Sam Laporta, but I think his numbers kind of out of hand right now because he's somewhat the only healthy weapon, pass catching wise, that's going to be for Detroit. So I think it's kind of too juice for me right now. But The receptions I don't hate.
4.5 right now for Adam Thielen on his
Oh yeah.
reception. So it is juiced at minus 145. His
Nah,
receiving
never mind.
yards is at 53.5 right now. I don't hate that though, but he's gone over that number, I think, in 3 straight weeks. And again, the
Yeah.
targets have been there as
Yep.
well for Adam Thielen. So just to make sure, here, last 3 weeks, 54 receiving yards, 145 against the Seahawks, and last week against the Vikings, 76 receiving yards. He's at least 8 targets in 3 straight weeks. For the Carolina Panthers, also 7 receptions, at least in 3 straight weeks as well for the Carolina Panthers. I was looking at Bryce Young's pass attempts in this game here as well. Kind of shying away from it now just because of the injuries that the Lions are dealing with. I thought that if they were going to get out to like a double-digit lead here, that would enable Bryce Young to throw the football, but. Yeah. This game may be closer than we may think here, but
I think so because I know a lot of people think Carolina's live in this game.
I would think so too. I was considering Detroit as my survivor pick, but I'm not going to go that route. I just have a funny feeling about this game. But
Carolina's defense is good though.
Yeah,
like the defense is really good. It's just the offense just can't catch up.
Yeah, Bryce Young has had at least 20 completions in the 3 games that he's played this week, 20, 22, and 25. Also, the pass attempts has been in there as well, 32, 33, and 38. The number is right now at 31.5, but that's juiced all the way up to minus 150. So there's some good same game parlay opportunities available in this game if you do want to go that route. Next game, the last game of the afternoon, the morning games, I should say, the 1 p.m. Eastern kickoffs. We got your New York Giants there in South Beach to take on Miami Dolphins. Dolphins last week coming off the absolute drubbing by the Buffalo Bills, 48-20, I believe was the final score in that game. But also your Giants struggled on Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks, where the offensive line just didn't give Daniel Jones a chance in that game here, Lante. But as far as player props, what we like looking at in this game, and I'll try to dig up some injury news, latest ones on these two teams.
Man, I don't.
It's okay, man. Just take a deep breath. It's okay.
You could probably just pick whoever. I mean, we saw what the secondary is for the Giants, man, and now we're gonna be looking at all this pre-snap motion, all of these weapons at home in a lot of humidity. I don't see the weather. The weather is probably it's just standard Miami weather, but you got an early kick. I mean, and it's been kind of cool on the East Coast, so it's not like the Giants have been, accustomed to playing in the type of heat that they're going to be playing in. I mean, honestly, I think you kind of just close your eyes and pick whichever weapon that you want. Jalen Waddle receptions over, Tyreek Hill, of course. Anything you like with him if it's not too high. I would look at Devon Achane rushing and receiving yards. I would look at him to go over. The Giants struggle with backs out of the backfield. They have for a long time. Achane has solidified himself in that backfield. I know Jeff Wilson is slated to come back as well. Sorry, Kramer, man. I know it hurts me. It hurts me to say that, man. It does. But yeah, I don't think you can trust the offensive line to give Daniel Jones time. You gotta go with his rushing yards over. Gotta go with his Daniel Jones rushing yards over. I like Breida though. I do think Breida can have a good game on the ground against his Miami rush defense, who's been probably the weakness of their team. So I'll go with Breida over, and I mean, for the sake of the show, I'll go with Jalen Waddle over his receptions.
Yeah, I did take Jalen Waddle, longest reception, over 23.5 yards. Again, the Giants, they've been giving up the big plays. There's no question about that. But I love your angle about Daniel Jones rushing yards. I mean, if that offensive line is not going to give him a chance, like they did, or like they didn't, I should say, against the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, you got to expect him to utilize his legs even more in this game. And I mean, last week, we take a look at it. Daniel Jones, I want to say, was in the realm of at least 40 rushing yards last week. Let me pull that up here. But it's just not very good right now for the yeah. Last week, 10 attempts, 66 rushing yards for Daniel Jones. Currently, that number for his rushing yards right now, my guess would be at 43.5. It's at actually 37.5 at plus money. Right. So plus 105. So I definitely do like that here as well. Lante, let's get over to the late afternoon window. We got the Cincinnati Bengals. They are in Arizona to take on the Cardinals here. I'll kick this one off. I took James Conner over 60.5 rushing yards. That's up to 62.5 The Bengals have the worst rush, one of the worst rushing defenses in the entire NFL. There's no question about that. And again, James Conner has been doing really well this season for this Cardinals offense. You kind of just look at his numbers. He's averaging 5.1 yards per carry. He's gone over this projection of 60.5 or even 63.5 in 2 out of 3 games this season. I think it'll just be a rushing attack this afternoon for the Arizona Cardinals against the Cincinnati Bengals. So James Conner over for me at 62.5 in this game was a player prop that I was looking at. What do you like in this game between the Bengals and the Cardinals?
Yeah, I love that also. I was gonna that was one of my plays as well. But I'll go to the other side. I'll go with Taj Boyd over 45.5 receiving yards. T. Higgins got ruled out.
T. Higgins
So I
is
think
out, yeah.
in that slot, I think Taj Boyd will be able to maneuver. If you saw some of the Arizona games, they struggled out of the slot. I think I want to say Slayton had a big second half for us whenever we made that comeback, the Giants that is. And they've just been struggling with the slot. And I think Taj Boyd, I mean, it's obviously something wrong with Burrow, that hamstring or calf or whatever it is. It's obviously bothering him. He's not able to stretch the field. And you can tell by Jamar Chase's post-game press conference that he's unhappy. So I think that Taj Boyd will be a beneficiary of T. Higgins being out. I think in the slot, he'll be able to operate really well. So give me him over 45.5 receiving yards.
Do you buy anything into that about Jamar Chase that you think he'll get fed the ball this week? Something similar like AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs,
Yeah. Anytime, no matter what it is, anytime a player comes out and complains, they're gonna get the ball. I mean, that's just how it is. It seems like it's just too easy, but he's gonna get. I mean, he gets fed the ball like that anyway. Like it's not like he's not getting targeted. He like Joe Burrow targets him. He forces the ball to him, probably too much. But I mean, but you got to look at his. I mean, his receiving yards are what
79.5.
Yeah, I mean that's probably about what it is, but. I mean, do we really trust this Arizona secondary to do anything at all? I mean, they got lit up by Daniel Jones for Christ's sake. So
yeah,
but Burrow's not healthy. Yeah, but Burrow's not healthy though. That's the only thing that's keeping me off of it. But I mean, I would play Chase up to 100 to be honest with you. I mean, I think he's gonna get probably overfed like he does any other time. So yeah, I read a lot into it. Anytime a player comes out, I think we talked about it with Breece Hall. You remember he tweeted the 4 football emojis. The next week they take off the restriction and say, "Oh yeah, he's good to go. He don't have any restriction." And same with AJ Brown. We saw him get Dallas Goedert probably pretty much cash his over prop in the first quarter that one game. So yeah, I buy into that a lot. I mean, players they want to have the ball, and I mean it's one of your better players, so you want to give them the ball.
41 targets so far this season for Jamar Chase. Right. The next guy in line, T. Higgins, 32. So I do expect him to get the ball fed this week. Let's get over to one of the, intriguing matchups this week. The Philadelphia Eagles, they are in Los Angeles. Inglewood to take on the Los Angeles Rams. No significant news. Obviously, the big news we already heard earlier this week. Cooper Kupp returning for this offense of the, the Los Angeles Rams. Doesn't look like he's going to have any restrictions in this game, but the one that I did play in this game here, Lante, was passing yards over for Matthew Stafford. I just think that, again, when we talk about this Eagles team, the weakness is the secondary for this team, and also that front line has been one of the best as far as rush defenses. So I think that's just going to enable Matthew Stafford to throw the football. I see that 276.5. I played that over. Again, when you have Cooper Kupp back, the way that Puka Nacua has been playing, Tutu Atwell, this might be one of the higher scoring games this week, but I just expect Matthew Stafford to go out there and just chuck the ball around against the secondary of the Eagles. So that's the one I did play in this game.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we're going to go head to head. I like under Matthew Stafford, but I got 277.5, so maybe we can go 277. I just think that he's banged up, and I don't know what to expect from this. Philadelphia had to tweak something on in that secondary because, I mean, it's not going to be any home field advantage, obviously. I think, is it Sean's going to the game, right?
He should be. Make sure to use Game Time app. I'm sure you use that.
I thought so. I thought I seen him going to the game, and hopefully he's. We got to get some balance on this network, man. Sean is a little bit too happy on Sundays, singing in front of the TVs. We got to get Ryan in front of the TVs to start singing the Giants fight song, man. But hopefully, I think the Rams are live in this game, so I'm gonna go with Matthew Stafford under, and I'll go with Devontae Smith over receptions, over receiving yards. I think that's correlated. I see him at 61.5 for his receiving yards. And what do I see? 4.5 for his receptions. Probably just buy that up to 5 because it's kind of juiced. So I think both of those are correlated. The secondary of the Rams, the only thing that scares me is they're kind of penalty ridden. Like they have a decent amount of defensive holding, defensive pass interference calls. But I think Devontae Smith can have some success here. Not sure what they expect with Cooper Kupp being back. Him and Nakua on. I'm guessing they're going to probably play on the same side to kind of negate the double teams and some of the things that you don't want to see with Cooper Kupp. But yeah, I like the Matthew Stafford under 277.5. I like Devontae Smith over receptions and over his yards. Real quick before we move on, you seen Puka Nakua's girlfriend?
I have not.
Oh my goodness!
Do I need to Google it?
Yeah, Google that. Google that.
Okay. All right. I'll do that while we get to the next game here.
Google that.
All right, what do we got left here? Let's go over to maybe some people are interested in this game. We got the Denver Broncos welcoming the New York Jets to town, a little Nathaniel Hackett revenge game. We saw the offseason comments that were made by Sean Payton about what took place prior to or what was going on in Denver with Nathaniel Hackett. So a little bit of, I guess, this a meaningful game, I should say, for both squads here. But anything that you do like in this game here, Lonte, as far as player props?
Man, I got nothing on this game. Like nothing. I want nothing. Anything would surprise me. Like I could see Denver being routed. I can see them routing the Jets. I can see like all different scenarios. Anything in this game would not surprise me. Nothing would surprise me in this game.
I'm probably looking at Breece Hall in this game. Denver's rush defense has been absolutely atrocious this season. They're allowing 5.6 yards per carry. They're allowing the second most rushing yards here as well. So I think there's an opportunity where I think that Breece Hall does have a big game for the New York Jets here. And on the other side, for the Denver Broncos, not much that I did like there, but this Breece Hall game, and I think maybe Zach Wilson has a big game here as well. As shocking as that is to say,
maybe
I just saw I like what I saw last week. Yeah, Garrett Wilson as well.
Yeah,
over on his either his passing yards or his receptions in this game.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else for this game?
Nah, nothing much.
All right, I think that is probably the last afternoon game, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check here. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the highest total on the board this week. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings here. What do you like in this game?
Man, I think Minnesota's live in this game, but I just don't know which way they're gonna go. I'm looking at some Addison stuff. I know we both were high on Addison in the past few shows with his receiving yards over. I think he had a dud, no receiving yards last week. I think that comes to an end here. I like Addison to go over. I like him for anytime touchdown score as well. If you look at the slot receivers that Kansas City has faced, they've kind of had a little bit of success in the intermediate and short routes, and I think that Addison is a candidate for that. Obviously, with a high total, they're going to see a lot of passing attempts. The running game for Minnesota has been pretty much non-existent. They're still waiting to, I guess, acclimate Cam Akers into it, so I think we're going to see a lot of passing here. So I like Jordan Addison over. Let me see if I can get an updated number on Addison. Where are we at? Addison
for receiving yards.
Receiving yards, yeah. He is at
let me see.
Jesus. 43.5. Let's see. Or actually DraftKings has a 40.5.
43.5 I see for Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I see DraftKings is maybe this is not, maybe my screen is not updated. Do you see 40.5 on DraftKings?
I see 43.5.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, maybe it's not updated. Yeah, 43.5. I like that over for Jordan Addison.
I did. I mean, you mentioned they right there that non-existent running game for the Minnesota Vikings. I took the over on Kirk Cousins' pass attempts. I think that was at 39.5. It's a big number, but I think it's a big number for a reason, just because what we mentioned, that there's no running game. That if they do get behind against Kansas City Chiefs, you're just gonna have to throw the football. Is Kirk Cousins, and again, Cousins hasn't been shy about throwing the football not only throughout his career, but this season alone. 3 out of the 4 games this season, he's had 44 pass attempts, 44 pass attempts, and 50 pass attempts. Last week, he didn't have to throw the ball a lot against the Carolina Panthers, which are pretty much a non-existent offense. But again, the other 3 games are throwing for 44 pass attempts at minimum. I think that you're going to definitely be throwing the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. So that was the one I was looking at in this game. Anything else as far as this game here, Lante, before we do our touchdown parlay here?
No, that's it.
All right, so let's put together our anytime touchdown parlay for the Sunday schedule here. Who do you like to find the end zone in this week?
Let's go with. I'm gonna go. Let's go to New England. Let's go with Hunter Henry.
Okay. Let me find that here.
I got it up.
Plus 240.
Is that what I see? 240. I see 270 somewhere. Yeah, it's 240 consensus. Yeah, 240.
All right. What else you got?
I'm just gonna the squares of them all. I'm gonna get Cooper Kupp in there to score a touchdown.
All right, let's see.
First game back, they want to get him in the end zone. He is at my screen.
Plus one. I see plus 120.
Yep. Plus one. You probably can get plus 130 also.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go with. Let's see here. I think I like Lamar to find the end zone here.
Yeah.
It's either him or Mark Andrews. Who do you think?
Yeah, Mark Andrews, 0 touchdowns and 8 appearances versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he does find the end zone today.
All right, so let's go Mark Andrews. That's at 2-1 for him to find the end zone. And then I think we got to go to the Chiefs and the Vikings game with the highest total on the board. Mm-hmm. I think we got to go to the old reliable, man. TJ Hawkinson plus 150.
Like that.
To find the end zone. So those are our 4 guys. Hunter Henry, Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews, and TJ Hawkinson. Hey, look at us again, 3 tight ends this week as well. Right. That's going to get you 55-1 for our anytime touchdown for parlay here. And then last but not least, before we do get out of here, let's head over to Underdog Fantasy. Let's put together our a 4-pick'em entry for this week. Lante, give me your 2 favorite player props for this week.
Yeah, we're gonna go to something that we both like. I'm gonna go with James Conner over. Is it 62.5 on the on Underdog?
Let's see. Let me search for it here. That might be easier to do it that way if it lets me. I'll just have to. Okay, the screen just froze on me here. Let's see. All right, here we go. James Conner, I see that 62.5. So about
that's fine. Yeah, I like over more. I like over that. Bryce Young over 9.5 rush yards. Those are my 2 favorites.
Let's Bryce Young. He is at 9.5 rushing yards. Okay. Yep. I took Derrick Henry over 18.5 rush attempts. I think that they're probably just going to ground and pound against the Colts in this game with Derrick Henry. And again, we rattled off the numbers with Derrick Henry against the Indianapolis Colts. I'll go with that. And then I will go with Kirk Cousins higher on his passing attempts of 39.5. And that will get us to the window here. So, all right, just to recap, Underdog entry this week, James Conner higher, 62.5 rushing yards. Derrick Henry higher, 18.5 rushing attempts. Bryce Young higher, 9.5 rushing yards. And Kirk Cousins higher, 39.5 passing attempts. Our $100 entry is going to get us paid a nice $1,000 over on Underdog Fantasy. Again, if you guys haven't already signed up with Underdog Fantasy, number one, I don't know what you guys are waiting for, but they did extend their first deposit bonus of up to $500. So if you haven't already, they're matching 100% of your first deposit up to $500. So again, head over to Underdog Fantasy, but make sure that you only get that bonus if you use promo code SGPN. So come tap in with us. Get that bonus money. Come put it in on the entry that we just put together. Again, James Conner, higher 62.5 rushing yards. Derrick Henry, higher 18.5 rushing attempts. Bryce Young, higher 9.5 rushing yards. And Kirk Cousins, higher 39.5 passing attempts. $100 entry will get you a $1,000 to kick off NFL Week 5 and then have some money for the rest of the season. All right, that's going to do it for this NFL Week 5 pregame show for the NFL Gambling Podcast. A lot of player props out there, so hopefully we can put some money in your guys' pockets this Sunday. Lante, anything else we want to mention to our listeners before we get out of here, my man?
Not much, man. Good luck to everybody with your bets. Bet responsibly. Hopefully, we can cash out on at least half of these. I think we've been doing pretty good. I know we killed it on the first show. I think we've been doing pretty good. I usually grade I used to go back and grade the ones that we like the most. I'll start doing that and updating the record. But I know we did really well in the first few weeks.
Yeah, we've been doing real well here, at least on our player props for the pregame show. So hopefully we can continue that for the rest of the season. All right, make sure to follow Lante on Twitter at XXLanteXX. You can follow me on Twitter at SportsNerd824. More importantly, make sure you guys like this stream before you guys get out of here for the pregame show. And again, make sure to subscribe to the NFL Gambling Podcast YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you haven't left us a rating and review, please go ahead and do so. And again, smash that like button for you guys to get out of here. Good luck with your bets here on NFL Week 5. Let's break these books off and let it ride.